So it's Halloween tonight, and what better way to spend it than curling up in front of the TV, scaring yourself shitless watching a good old-fashioned horror film. But if you like your jump scares with just a little bit more intellectual politics to it, then here are my top 5 horror films that are actually really excellent social critiques. At number 5, we have Candyman, which is quite apt actually, because if you say his name 5 times into the mirror, he appears to you. But ultimately, this film is a very good critique of white liberal 90s America, particularly the academic situation in which you have a group of people who study the kinds of poverty that this film depicts in an inner city public housing estate in Chicago, but fails to do anything about it. And the villain of the story here, the guy that comes to you all, is actually the victim, because he's a victim of a lynch mob at the beginning of the film for having the temerity to fall in love with a white woman. So ultimately, this film is an excellent critique of the kinds of poverty that creates the systemic racism that we see in the United States. And number 4, we have Dawn of the Dead. And to be honest, you could pick any of George Romero's zombie films, because ultimately they all depict this idea that zombies represent the kind of mindless consumers that we have become under capitalism. In this film in particular, not so much the 2004 remake, although that does it a little bit, but the fact that it's set in a mall is telling of the fact that that is the place, these cathedrals of capitalist consumption, is where we sort of become these mindless consumerist zombies. So this is a classic critique of consumerism. And number 3, we have Green Room, which may have gone under your radar because it came out well over a decade ago, but didn't have a massive release, kind of a B movie. And it tells a story of a young, yes, left-wing punk band who are down and out, so they take a gig at a right-wing, white supremacist, neo-Yahtzee skinhead bar, essentially. And of course, I won't spoil it for you, but it turns into a very thrilling kind of chase movie, essentially. Not only is this an excellent film, but in many respects is a perfect allegory of Trump's America, because it shows you how that particular subculture created the political violence which is shown in this film, which has now become a part of the administration. And Patrick Stewart, who plays the head skinhead, essentially, does a fantastic job in basically showing how they use violence purely as a means of power. At number 2, we have Jaws, which is 50 years old this year, which is incredible to think a film that is over half a century old can still be this good. It would make my top 5 films regardless of the genre. But ultimately, Jaws is a film that really excellently critiques capitalism, because every single decision that is made by the mayor, even by the shark hunters, is about profit, is about making money. And ultimately, the shark isn't the real villain here. The shark is just part of nature. It's just doing what nature does. Ultimately, all the problems and all the people that, because of what the shark is doing, is because of the decisions made by capitalists in this film. So again, Jaws is a fantastic critique of capitalism. But at number 1, which you would have been able to guess if you got the reference of my t-shirt, Alien, which is a feminist masterpiece straight down the line. The makers of the film have been on record saying that they wanted to make it as uncomfortable as possible as they could for men to watch. And the way that they did that was to use the alien and the reproductive cycle that it has with the facehuggers as a metaphor for male grape. That violation of the male body doesn't just come from the alien's reproductive system. It comes from the actual context of the film itself. The workers of these films, as we see, they're unions, they're squabbling about money, so there's an issue about kind of the exploitation of labour. But then it falls on Ripley, who was the feminist icon at the time, bearing in mind this is in the 70s, and it wasn't really the thing that women would be the heroes of the film. She comes along and basically saves the day. So ultimately, Alien is an anti-patriarchal feminist masterpiece. There are loads more, of course. John Carpenter's They Live, The Purge, the Omen series. They're all excellent kind of critical anti-establishment films to some degree. So if you're going to watch a horror film this evening, why don't you have one that's got political commentary shot right through it?